All right. Well, let's get started. If we have any more attendees that trickle through the door, as long as they don't interrupt us, I think we'll be fine. We got them muted anyway. Well, hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Johnny. I'm the CEO and founder of Jenny. Thank you for all attendees and Coco and Annabelle for joining us today on our segment of Jenny's short forum. What does virality mean to creators? Once again, I'm just to find and activate brand promotions, song promotions, and different monetization opportunities. Typically these series start typically these series are about 45 minutes long. Sometimes we have them up to about an hour. If any attendees do have questions, this whole point of this conversation is to ask questions to creators, to us. Feel free to drop them in the chat. If you forget halfway through or you don't want to interrupt someone talking, we are going to have Q&A at the end of the session as well. So you can also save your questions for the end. But feel free to drop anything in the chat. Baco, who's on this call as well, who's our marketing director, will kind of house all those and make sure that that me and the other panelists see this. But yeah, I'm going to get started now. But before we get going with Coco and Annabelle, my colleague Coral is co-hosting with me today. Coral, do you want to give a quick introduction on yourself?
Yes. Hey, everyone. I'm Coral. I'm a campaign manager over at Jenny and Songfluencer, and I help kind of spark some of these viral moments that we're about to be talking about and digging into. So basically just thinking of and strategizing ways to activate on some trends, how we can incorporate our creators into these trends. And that's just my role. I like to get rocking and rolling on some really cool activations for our creators and see what viral moments we can spark.
All right. Thanks, Coral. And now I want to introduce you to two special guests, Coco and Annabelle. Coco, why don't you give a quick introduction of yourself, but from my take on doing the quick research that I could on you and what my team tells me about you, you primarily are creating content around pop culture, story times, hot takes, fashion, makeup tutorials, and more. You also have an incredible podcast called Ahead of the Curve.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast is all about viral moments online and things that are happening in pop culture. But why don't you give us, your story, what background?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I actually started in marketing. I was working for a brand called Famous Birthdays. But that was where we were working with like Musical.ly and TikTok stars before really anyone else knew what it was. We were producing videos on YouTube that would get like 20 million views, 40 million views. And we're like, okay, there's something here with TikTok. Like these TikTok stars are huge. And then from there, I got recruited to where I work now currently. And it's like a household name, but I don't always say it. But I made my TikTok. It started blowing up about like last September because I started talking about like marketing and why things go viral. And I like to think people gave me the title of trend forecaster, but I more so just like to study digital trends and why people's attention go to certain things and where I think, it's going to head next. And yeah, I've been really blown away with the response and just getting to work with, bigger names and helping them come up with campaigns and stuff like that. It's been a lot of fun, but yeah, so I have a 9 to 5 background in marketing that translated over to my social media and podcast.
So you were like, I'm going to do this on my own now.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like this is getting bigger than I planned. So I've been enjoying the ride.
Awesome. And Annabelle, why don't you give us a quick recap on your story?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Annabelle. My story began at the end of 2020 when I made a TikTok that was what his favorite rapper says about him. Just taking my knowledge of like people's personalities around their music taste, making it into funny TikToks, and they started to blow up. And I've been a music nerd for my entire life, very passionate about music, and I started making content just sharing all of my favorite artists, my favorite music, And that's how I started to grow my audience. And it was really beautiful how it happened. And then I founded my own platform called That Good Shit. That's like a music blog, but a lot more set like in present media trends with the way we do interviews, the way we create content around like Instagram Reels and TikTok. And I've been able to use my platform as Annabelle on TikTok, as well as my platform, That Good Shit, just to share all of the music that I think is really important today, help push campaigns with artists across platforms, and just really see like the power of TikTok and how it can really like change an artist's career, how it can take an album release or something like that and turn it into this huge viral moment. Yeah, it's been a beautiful time. So that's me.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you, Annabelle. So everyone, this webinar is specifically about virality, and both of these guests have an amazing expertise in understanding, discussing, and predicting virality. Most of our audience members here are marketers. They may reside at record labels, agencies, or brands that really specifically are involved with TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and virality is a big topic of conversation with them. And so we're here today to talk about virality, new trends, and what virality means to creators like Coco and Annabelle. I'm going to break this webinar into basically two parts. The first part, I'm going to tee up Coco and Annabelle to talk about past trends of 2021, 2022, also some of their predictions for 2023 and beyond. Then the second part of this is talking through their specific experiences with virality and what they did with that virality. So I'm going to start, Coco, with you. In terms of 2022, 2021 trends that you saw previously, were there any like specific trends that you really jumped on that were ones that you saw were really that resonated with culture a lot? Were there ones that you think marketers needed to be paying attention to? Why do you think people needed to be paying attention to that? What do you think was really interesting that you saw creators taking advantage of any of those trends, brands taking advantage of those trends? Were there anything that came to mind there? And then does any of those trends inform some of your predictions in 2023, or are there fun predictions that you would hope some of our audience members here should know about your predictions in 2023?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like there was obviously a huge shift in like 2020 because at least specifically working on TikTok, it was kind of this thing that was like, I actually thought when I got assigned to work on the TikTok that it would hurt my career. Like no one would take me seriously if I had TikTok on my resume. This was back in like 2019 when they were rebranding from Musical.ly. And then in 2020, obviously people were taking it like way more serious. We've seen careers just skyrocket. I believe there's one artist, Gail, she had a song ABCDEFU and it was nominated for a Grammy. And that started because of a comment on her TikTok. Like it's been this great tool, but like I say that to say like we all obviously know the power of TikTok now. I think almost going viral on TikTok now isn't necessarily as novel as exciting as it once was. And that's coming from someone who works on TikTok and has a financial incentive for it to still be novel and exciting. And so I think that something that's changing is obviously it's still a great discoverability platform. I actually think some of the ways that we're going to see people going viral, and it's kind of started in last year and it's I think going to continue, is just like more live streaming. And I know that sounds scary to people because they think it's like a loose cannon, but and they have to like entertain. But I think that I know T-Pain like oddly is a celebrity who live streams and has his stream help him come up with his music and stuff. But I actually think that we're gonna see I don't know if you guys have ever gone on YouTube and you've seen like those like do your homework with like Lo-Fi Girl, and it's just a stream and there's constantly like 20 to 50,000 people on that stream and it's just like a graphic. I think that we're going to see artists just doing something like that but with their music on a loop to get people familiarized with them. So I always say like live streaming, it's not always about entertainment, it's about companionship. People just want to be in the room with another person. or even if it is like just the lo-fi girl and the person can go about their day, but they just have an account that streams their music on a loop. People come up with like Frank Ocean, like music loops and stuff. So yeah, I think that TikTok is still really powerful, but I think that the people who are going to succeed in the next like decade are the ones who are adopting long form and treating it more as like being there with people companionship wise versus feeling like they have to entertain in 10 seconds or less, or else people are going to scroll past.
So do you so long form you think is definitely the future, but do you think it's still going to be like vertical format, just longer videos? Or-
Yeah, I think it could be that vertical format. And I think that short form is still so powerful, obviously, like TikTok. But I always say that people on TikTok don't have object permanence. So my audience always jokes, they're like, Coco uses these big like SAT words out of context. But what I mean by that is like, if I asked you what
I
was
have no idea.
yeah. So if I asked you like, what's the 5th video that you scrolled back to on your TikTok that you saw, you probably wouldn't remember what that 5th video was. It could be like a hit song that's like awesome, like Harry Styles singing it and saying your name directly. You still probably won't remember that video. Like you just don't remember everything you see on TikTok, but you probably could tell me about a YouTube deep dive that you just watched or like a podcast that you listened to. So I just think long form has more longevity. I think that it sticks more. Whereas TikTok, it's great to get like 5 million views and to get that first spark and attention, but it's not as sticky as the other things in terms of getting people familiar with you in the long run. But I do think it's going to be like more vertical on the phone, or just like if they can close the screen and do other things on their phone. I know TikTok just launched that feature.
Yeah, totally. So basically, I guess one of the layers that you're mentioning here is short form could be a catalyst to capturing audience, but it's not going to keep them there because maybe it's not as interesting as little and makes them true fans. Right.
I do have a question for Coco regarding what you kind of mentioned about longevity on the platform. Like, what would be your take on people doing like parts, right? Where they will talk maybe semi-deeply for 30 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever. And then say for part 2, here's like the next step to this, and have it be like series. And it become like basically bite-sized portions of longer format videos.
Yeah, so we've actually like even seen on my end just that obviously parts always it's kind of like the For You page is like entering a raffle every day, and the more videos that you post, the more raffle tickets you have to winning that day, which is like getting on the For You page. So I think that's why we see people do parts, and I think that they're going to still be useful, but I do think in terms of like what the users want, I feel like users sometimes are getting like annoyed at them because they're like, well, you could have put this in the whole video. But it's also kind of TikTok on TikTok because they don't let you film 10 minutes. Like you literally can only film 3 minutes in app unless you're filming outside of the app and then uploading it. So it's it's just an experimental game. I do think right now, until they let you film longer in app, like multiple parts works because you're just getting like more raffle tickets. But I think that live streaming is a fun way to like try and get on the algorithm. I've noticed when I go live, like my recent video will be at 3K views and then it'll jump to like 70K in like the 10 minutes that I'm on live. So I do think there's something in the algorithm there that doesn't feel like you have to sacrifice multiple parts.
All right. And if anyone has any questions about that, pop it in the chat, or you can wait till the end. And Annabelle, I'm going to throw this entire subject and question over to you, talking about maybe about the music space or maybe some other things too. If you want to pepper in some of your expertise, be my guest. But 2020, 2021, 2022, some cool trends, things that people should have been watching, or cool things you saw people do, and then what your predictions are for the future.
Yeah, so when you were asking the question, the things that were popping into my mind, a lot of it had to do with how artists are marketing their music on TikTok, because that's something I see so much of, is how are artists like using TikTok themselves to market their music. What I've seen, especially in like the past couple years, 2022 specifically, is the videos that are like, I've created a new genre. Artists like posting like the same familiar snippet of their song like 10 times a day. Like you hear that same snippet a million effing times like on your For You page, so it becomes very familiar. A lot of artists posting videos also that's like, if you like this artist and this artist, then you will like my music. And so that's what I've seen a lot succeeding in the past. I think all of those have gotten a little stale at this point because we've been seeing so many artists doing that, all like very discovery based, like making use of the algorithm, like, oh, if you like this artist and you like this artist, you know, the algorithm will catch that you like those artists and push you this artist. But as we move forward, I couldn't agree more with what Coco was saying about like long form, about storytelling, and actually like posting content as an artist or as a creator, you know, like me that's talking about music, posting long form content, storytelling, that's actually allowing your audience to like really engage with you, who you are, what your story is. Like if you're an artist creating like, you know, a super long video, whether that be in parts or a YouTube video or whatever it may be, just like really diving deep into who you are, like what your music is about. And I think what it all really comes down to is building community. I think that as TikTok gets bigger and bigger and more expansive, it's going to be really important for people to like build community within the app. And so I just think that long form content is definitely going to be the future of that. Just making TikToks feel like less gimmicky, less like they're trying to sell you a song. Cause I think the audience is catching on to the fact that like everyone is using TikTok to market their music. So people are probably getting used to seeing artists being like, oh, if you like these artists, you'll like my song, like 10-second scroll. Now I think it's going to be moving more towards, hi, I'm an artist, I make music. Now here's like a 5-part story time about like the first time I made a song or something like that, where an audience can really engage with the person who's making the video, know more about who they are, and then, you know, a community can be built around that. So that's what I see happening.
Just to interrupt real quick, and everyone can answer this question. When we do say long form content versus short form content, we know short form is like 15, maybe 30 seconds. What is long form content in terms of time length? How do we define that? So if you were like writing a college paper and you had to define long form content, the length, the average length, or the range, what would you say it is?
I personally think it's anything over a minute. Like short form for me is under a minute because that's what can be posted to Reels, to YouTube Shorts, to TikTok. It can be copy and pasted, but long form is anything longer because then if you're going to try and copy and paste it, you have to like cut it down. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I would say about the same. Anything over a minute, specifically that like the 3-minute long videos where you see that dot on the bottom of the screen on TikTok moving really slow and you're like, damn, this is a 3-minute video and I'm going to get really invested. That's what I'm thinking. As well as like, I've been watching YouTube for my entire like lifetime. And so like me like sitting down, I sit down with my breakfast every morning and I watch like a 20-minute YouTube video and that is my comfort. And I think that after like, in the midst of an age of TikTok where it's so much short form content, I feel like people are starting to really enjoy, like I'll start sitting down and watching like 3-minute story time TikToks in the morning instead of my like 20-minute, you know, YouTube video. So I think people are craving that experience of like feeling closer to the creators that they see on TikTok. So yeah, I'd say like 1 to 3 minutes.
Yeah. Somewhat related to this, both of you kind of brought up the, you know, other platforms outside of TikTok. So we're talking about Reels and YouTube Shorts. How do you feel like this ecosystem of short form video platforms is impacting in your forecasting that the future is going to be vertical video, but long form vertical video content? How are these? Is there one platform that you like? Are there certain features on some of these platforms that you think are really good? If the heads of each of these platforms were in this webinar right now, what would you want to tell them? What are some of the things that you're thinking about? Like this platform is better for this because of this, or that platform is not good because of this. Is there anything that kind of strikes you guys as, you know, something worth mentioning here?
Yeah. I personally think, at least with TikTok, like their discoverability is unlike anything we've seen. Like I remember literally being in middle school obsessed with MySpace, like just studying platforms, and TikTok's discoverability, I say it's kind of like like every other platform is like going on a road trip, but you have to kind of know the destination. You have to put it into your GPS. You have to focus on the road. Like, so if you're watching a YouTube video, you have to actively be like looking for, you know, the next street that you're going to turn on, which is the next video. But TikTok, you're the passenger. You might not really know where you're going, but you just look out the window, you enjoy the view. You can scroll past if you don't like the view. So TikTok has really good discoverability. I wish that other platforms could take that discoverability. Like on Instagram, if I look up like a mac and cheese recipe, my explore page is only mac and cheese recipes for like 2 months. With, if anyone is listening, like I love you, Instagram, but it's just the discoverability is not the same as it is on TikTok. So I think that I personally prefer long form. Like I know I agree with what Annabelle was saying. I think that people say like, oh, we only have like 10-second attention spans now, but I actually think it takes more mental effort to like have to constantly scroll, like undivided attention to scroll every 10 seconds. You're processing a new
Oh.
face, a new topic, a new information, deciding if you want to watch it. Like that takes undivided attention. I'd rather just put on like a lo-fi music mix or something from my favorite artist, put it in the corner of the room or a podcast and do my hair, go about my day. So yeah, I wish that TikTok had more of the passive viewership that's enjoyable with their discoverability. But I mean, still like to this day, TikTok's discoverability is just unmatched, whether it's short form or long form. So
Yeah, I would say I completely agree. I think like TikTok's discoverability, the algorithm and the way that like it can perfectly like integrate, take all of your favorite things and put them on your For You page, like so well tailored for you is amazing. I also think the way that like TikTok is able to help build communities around like shared interest is really, really special. I don't see that on any other platform. Like I myself have built like the most amazing community on TikTok just from talking about my music taste, you know? So I think TikTok specifically as a creator gives you a really great opportunity to like be exactly who you are, nerd out about what you think is amazing, and you will build a community around people who also think that's special. So that's what I love about TikTok. I think what I've been enjoying a lot about other platforms is like Instagram Reels. I think just because Instagram and the way it's set up, like I feel like it's easier for me to, if I like a reel, I can click on their Instagram profile and have an easier time figuring out like who they are, what they're about, what their history is than on TikTok. So that's something that I enjoy just about how Instagram is set up. Definitely the discoverability on Instagram Reels is like nowhere near where TikTok is at. I also do notice that like the trends on Instagram Reels are a little bit behind where they are on TikTok. Like whatever sound or trend is popular on TikTok, I'm going to see kind of regurgitated on Instagram Reels like a month or two down the line. So I think there's some catching up to do there. And I've been hearing a lot about YouTube Shorts. I personally have not been getting into YouTube Shorts yet, but it seems like there's this like very much bubbling hype around YouTube Shorts and how there's like a huge audience there that is not tapped into yet. Like people will be repurposing their content, putting it on YouTube Shorts and getting millions of views. So I don't have much of an experience with that yet, but every single person I talk to has been like very much encouraging me to get on YouTube Reels.
I mean, it isn't YouTube Shorts kind of like this dark horse conversation happening in our space where all we're like TikTok's amazing and awesome and like it's TikTok, it's like the leader, it's the OG, and then you have like Instagram Reels and you're like, well, it's cool, and then you're like over here and you're just looking at YouTube and you're like, well, YouTube is actually the OG coming in hot, right? Like it's like, how do I, you know, total a different question for a different day, but I can't imagine how as creators you manage distribution of content on all these different platforms, remain relevant everywhere. It's just insane. Oh, someone just said YouTube Shorts is where it's at. Well, yeah, maybe it is.
I have to agree. I've seen some good signal on YouTube Shorts, and I don't know. I think we often forget about the power of YouTube because, at least for those of us that are American based, iPhone is really big here, but Androids and like Samsung, just in general, are huge everywhere else. And every Android phone already comes pre-downloaded with YouTube on it. So
Oh.
yeah, so there's like such a big audience there, especially of like Gen Alpha. They're the ones under Gen Z that are just using YouTube because it's readily available. So I think that YouTube is just I've said this before. People look at me like I'm like nuts, but I think we haven't even seen the golden age of YouTube yet. And we still have like the Mr. Beast of the world, but I'm like, I think that we haven't even seen, like, I don't think YouTube is necessarily even at its peak yet. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah. And Annabelle, what I see from the music side of things, I tell a lot of our music clients that i- i- it's interesting to have short form very close in proximity from a digital standpoint, close in proximity to the long form content. Because if you have artists that are using short form to drive like attention and eyeballs to that longer form storytelling, compelling content, it's, it's kind of a no brainer. But yeah, all these platforms have their own unique thing. It's like YouTube Shorts has like these functions and just the iconic status, and TikTok's like, well, it's so cool to find content here. It's just wild.
And I
All
think,
right. Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go. I
No,
just
no,
wanted to add in what to your point. I also just think like from the artist perspective, I think having access to all of these different platforms is a beautiful opportunity to harness like what your best qualities are and let the platform that's best fit for that help you like blow up your music in that way. So like if you are an amazing visual artist, like you can put out like beautiful like music videos on YouTube. If you are like hilarious, you can make like short form funny like TikTok videos. If your song has like a very catchy like danceable hook, like put it on TikTok with a dance and it'll blow up. So I definitely think the beauty of like having access to all of these different platforms is like utilizing what your best skills are as a creative, as an artist, and going to the platform that is gonna like push that the most.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're gonna go to the second part, chapter 2 of this webinar, and talk specifically about Coco and specifically about Annabelle and each of your experience separately with virality, and if there's a specific moment that has really stood out to you over your journey as a creator that kind of stands out that you think the audience would like to hear in relation to this topic. I'll just tee it up. And I know I went to Coco. I know I went to you first last time. So Annabelle, the floor is yours. Would love the audience to hear about like your personal experience with virality, what you did with it after that. I think what marketers want to start hearing about now is virality is cool and that's awesome. And we got a bunch of eyeballs, but if you're a creator, if you're a brand, if you're an artist, what is next? What do we do with all these eyeballs? So the floor is yours.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that is on my mind all the time. Like, so my biggest experience with virality was when I very first started out. Like my first video to go viral, I think got like 300,000-400,000 views in like a day or two. And it was my what his favorite rapper says about him, right? And so the moment that I saw that video doing well, and I got a million comments asking me like, oh, what if his favorite rapper is this? What if his favorite rapper is this? I took that opportunity to really cater to what people were asking me to see because people were just hungry for more. And I turned it into like a 20-part series. And that was enough for me to gain 20-30,000 followers in the matter of a couple weeks just by like, I would go through all of my comments and see like what artists people wanted me to speak on. And I would make like a part 20 or whatever with those artists. So first it was really just like feeding what the people wanted to see. Cause when you come across like a viral video that you think is funny, you want to go to their page and you want to get more. You're like, this is hilarious. I like this person. What else do they have to offer? So the first step I took was just like really giving people a huge amount of content to take in that they were excited about so they could, know that I was going to be constantly providing that like fun content. And then moving on from that is definitely a really important decision because I think for me, I had to have like a talk with myself about what kind of creator I wanted to be and what I wanted to do with this viral moment. And I decided to just really focus on how I could build longevity for myself as a creator, because as we know, with viral moments, no matter how big a moment gets, like it can vanish like that. And you don't want to be a one-hit wonder, And so what I really did was I just spent a lot of time really interacting with my community. Like every time I would get a comment asking me to speak on a certain subject, talk about a certain artist, I would make a video replying to that comment and let my community know that, you know, anything that you wanted to see, I would be willing to deliver. So I think that was really important to me, creating that relationship with my community as a creator, and just knowing like what people were looking for from me. I also found it to be really important to diversify the topics of my videos and not just repeatedly have the same template for every single video, because again, I see so many pages on TikTok specifically that have one set template that blow up for a couple months and then it kind of gets stale because people know what to expect. So I really made a point as I continued forward making videos to constantly have like refreshing new ideas, refreshing new topics. I moved on from like what his favorite rapper says about him, and I'd start doing like, oh, album review video, deep dive on this artist. Here's a playlist that I made for you, reviewing my audience's playlists, you know? So just really diversifying. And someone said building trust, like that's so true, just building trust between me and my audience. And yeah, just really focusing on what I could do to build longevity rather than just like trusting a single moment. And now I've noticed like if I go back and try to do a video like today, 2 years later, that's what his favorite rapper says about him, it does not blow up the way that it used to. And that's because it had its moment and now its moment is in the past. So that was definitely my biggest advice I would have for creators, for artists, anyone trying to like use a viral moment. Like build that trust with your audience, give them what they want, but then make sure that you also have a plan for how you're going to move forward. I say like really diversify what you're going to offer to your audience, and don't be afraid to, you know, try new things.
Awesome. Coral, anything you want to add there? Ask questions based on that?
I would love to know, Annabelle, like what's been the coolest experience that you've been able to have since your viral moments? Like what other doors have been opened for you? And like more of that conversation, like maybe outside of TikTok, maybe working directly with brands, artists, etc., like more of that lane.
Yeah. Well, when I started diversifying my content outside of like the what your favorite rapper says about you, and I started making more videos like on specific artists, doing deep dives on specific artists that I was loving. Artist teams started reaching out to me, and you know, artists that I had loved forever, their teams were reaching out and asking me if I wanted to work with them. They were reposting my videos. I remember like the first big thing that happened for me was when Earth Gang asked me to come on tour with them, and I'm pretty sure it's the first time an artist has brought like a TikToker with them like on tour to cover the tour, and I thought that was so brilliant of them. So that was a really crazy moment for me. And then, you know, that all came full circle. Like a couple months later, I got to like interview JID, and I've started being able to, you know, kind of go from just being like a music TikToker to being like full blown like music journalism, doing interviews and like running a successful platform. So just being able to have all of the artists that I love, like have them and their teams reach out to me and want to work with me on campaigns, work with me on pushing releases, doing interviews. It's all been really, really cool. And then also I've also had opportunities to work with, you know, brands like JBL, Spotify, and many more, like a lot of really dope, like up and coming music discovery apps. Like there was this app I worked with, Discs, they're super dope. And I got to be featured in Rolling Stone with them about like them building their app. So I've just been able to work with a lot of dope artists and dope companies within music, just because they know that I've built like a very, you know, trusting community of music lovers. So it's been really cool.
Awesome. Well, hey, there's a great question in the chat here that I wanted to ask. It was a little bit in relation to what you were saying, and Coco, you can also feel free to chime in on this one, but for everyone, I'll read what Charlie's asking. What are your thoughts on followers being used as the primary metric shown on your profile? Would you oppose TikTok and other short form platforms switching from followers to a monthly viewers metric, similar to how Spotify's primary metric is monthly listenership? What are your thoughts on that? What's your take on it? Would you be opposed to that?
I actually think that's brilliant. Like Charlie, you should work in developing or something, because I always say maybe you do. I always say it's kind of funny with TikTok, like you're really only as good as your last video. Like you can be followed by 1 million people, and after they hit the follow button, they might never see your videos again, which is unlike, I mean, the Discover is great, but then again, it's like unlike any other platform where I follow people that like I haven't seen in so long on my feed. So it really is like you're really only as good as your last video. And as you know, sometimes it's up to the algorithm and if it likes you that day. But I think like a monthly viewership kind of thing would be a good metric because, you know, yeah, like community is strong on TikTok, but I think you have to like in a way ritualize your content. Like people have to actively seek you out or else you're at the dependency of the For You page. And that's why I always tell people like they need a home base that's outside of TikTok, whether that's Instagram or like a website or anything, because TikTok is not a good home base. It's where people can discover you. But unless they're typing your name into their search bar every morning, like they're not going to see a recent video, except for those like that go viral. So yeah, it's just an interesting platform in that way that you might never see someone you followed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely I agree with that. I think that having a monthly viewers metric would be very, very helpful because, I see so many pages where the person will have like millions of followers, but it's clearly come from like a viral moment way in the past. And then now it's like, their videos aren't doing much. I definitely think like a follower count can show like your history as a creator and that at some point you created something that went crazy and people followed you for that reason. I also think like people are out here buying followers. And so like it is not the most authentic metric, like especially like outside of TikTok, like on Instagram, like you see so many people with like a gazillion followers and then like one comment on their picture. And so, it's hard to know when people's following count is authentic.
Yes.
So I think like monthly viewers is a great metric. I also think looking at like likes and engagement in that way on a video is really great because, whether maybe you make a couple videos that like don't get crazy views, but you can look at the video and say like, oh, this video got like 2,000 views, but it also got like maybe like 400, 500 likes. It's being really engaged with, so I think likes is an amazing metric as well as, comments,
Yeah.
how people are interacting, and monthly viewers would be really cool too.
Yeah. I look at some clients I've looked at, like they have 3 heads when they come at us saying, hey, we need 20 influencers with more than 5 million followers. We want to hire them. And I'm like, for what? What reason? What is the reason you need these influencers with more followers? Does that equate to something meaningful? Or even on the other side of the spectrum, when influencers say like, well, I have this many followers, so I should cost this much money. And I'm like, what metric does this prove? Like, what is this value that we're talking about? And I remember because I first started doing TikTok marketing in 2018. And it was just when like Musically was happening, and all those kids that came over from Musically had millions of followers overall, like the cool TikTokers, because they just took the same following translated, right? Like the number translated to followers as TikTokers, but someone would have 5 million followers, but be getting 20,000 views on their TikTok post because no one cared anymore. It's like, oh God, the marketplace on both sides is very skewed from a engagement standpoint. Charlie, great question. Thanks for asking. All right. Well, I'm going to pass the baton now over to Coco. Coco, would love to hear your take on the same question. What has been your experience with virality? Are there any specific examples of, you having a viral moment that you would like to talk about, how you handled it, what you did with it, what got leveraged from it, and what path you're taking now because of it?
Yeah, so I remember the exact day that like everything changed. And I always used to hear stories like that and I'm like, does it really happen like that? Cuz I think it's Mark Cuban who said it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. So it was a lot of like trial and error like getting there, but I basically asked myself one day, I'm like, what is like the type of video that I desperately want to watch, but I can't find it anywhere? And that was a quote from a book, Steal Like an Artist. But I think he was talking about music. And I was like, I just want to hear people talking about like trends and stuff. Like for my 9 to 5, like I basically just have to report in and be like, this is what I think is going to be cool in 6 months. Like do with that what you will. And I basically just made a video being like, I feel like the Tumblr aesthetic is coming back. And it just blew up. I was in a bunch of articles, and that series got me going for a couple months. And then I just felt like what more, like how many trends are there going to be? Like I could only make so many videos like that. So then I had to pivot, and I started doing deep dives into like celebrities and internet stars, and like what I think they're doing differently from everyone else. And those started going super viral. And I would even have, I mean, to this day, if I'm at like an event and one of them comes up to me, or they'll DM me and be like, hey, like, could you make one of those videos on me? So that's actually why I started my podcast. So I could just start interviewing them and asking them. But that was the day it changed. It was about like late August, early September was when my account just blew up. And in terms of like opportunities, a lot of brands would come to me, and like now that I'm repped, they would be asking for ads and stuff, but I've only taken a few because I didn't want to like say something I didn't feel was genuine. Getting to go speak at events like Ad Week and different press events has been really fun. But in terms of like life cycles, I think Annabelle made some good points. Like, you don't want to be a one-trick pony. So there's been so many days where I've woken up and I'm like, this is the end. Like, what am I gonna do? But it's always after that moment that you just have to keep showing up, that then you get that new moment that goes viral, and then that new idea that kind of, I feel like you have about like 3 months of a good idea on TikTok before it gets stale to your audience. So yeah, it's been a fun run. And that's also why I just wanted to like make the podcast too, because I felt like TikTok is, hot and cold, and when it's hot, it's really hot and it's awesome, and I specialize in it, and I love the opportunities I've seen come from it. But it's not like there's no ritual there where people are like seeing your video every single day. So yeah, it's good for exposure, but I don't know that there's like a ton of substance there in terms of like the community all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And real quick, so you also have a podcast. So how are you translating everything that you're doing on TikTok to the podcast? Like, how did that transition work? What was the reason for that? How is that kind of captivating your fan base?
Yeah. So I had been getting a lot of comments, and even when I would film videos, I'm like, 3 minutes just isn't enough. Like, there's so much that I want to say. And sometimes you get like hate comments I feel like the shorter the video, the more hate comments you get, because there's less like nuance. So people feel like things are literal or whatever. So I was like, if I could just dive into this topic for like 30 minutes, they would get it. And it was like a lot of planning and stuff. But then yeah, and then I also like sometimes people will be like, you talk really slow, but I'm like, I'm just trying to get my ideas out there. Like, I'm not the type of person that's like, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the vlog. Like, da, 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 da. Like, I like to just think it through. I'm usually, the video, like as I'm filming too, I'm figuring out different ideas. And I think people come along with me for that process. And so it just feels more fleshed out on a podcast. And then in terms of just like wanting to interview people too, I felt like 3 minutes, like I can post clips and stuff, and like we're just starting filming now with people, but it's like you only can do so much in 10 or 30 seconds. And I felt like the topics that I was biting into, like I was biting off more than I could chew with explaining things in under a minute or 3 minutes. So that was where the podcast came from.
Awesome.
I did want to ask you a question, Coco. So you have made some videos that have expressed like maybe some of the negative impacts for going viral. And I wanted to talk about like the mental health aspects of what going viral means.
Yeah. Sorry, was that the question, or was
Yeah.
I don't want to talk over you. Okay.
No, you're good. You're good. Just basically like, what are some of the negative outcomes that you've experienced or you've seen happen from going viral? Maybe like the pressures associated with constantly creating, I'm not sure, but like, what have you kind of seen from that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So prior to me gaining my own audience, which kind of happened accident, like I didn't mean for people to care about what I had to say, but I was advising a lot of creators and consulting, and I was always just like hate comments are cool, like whatever, like just brush them off, until I started getting some, and I was like, oh, so I always feel this responsibility to warn people that like, you know, going viral can also, I think, like be almost a type of trauma. Like if it's not like, I don't mean to use that word lightly, but sometimes going viral absolutely messes with people. And usually it's because once your videos start getting a certain amount of views, you're going to get the people that don't necessarily understand you. And so it can be really disorienting. But what I've learned is that like you just have to keep showing up every day. And if you're able to just show multiple sides of yourself, then there people will understand you. And but it's a conversation that I have with almost everyone I meet who's a big creator online or like has a big following, is they're like, yeah, it's just, you know, the comments, but it sounds like whiny to be, because back when I used to consult people, I'm like, they're so lucky that they're getting views, like why do they care about mean comments? But yeah, I think it's just the feeling of being misunderstood. And then like just in terms of motivation and like creating content every day, I'm like, you just have to show up. You don't have to be the best. Like some of the most popular people online don't necessarily have the best like personalities. They're just ones that keep showing up every day, whether people want them there or not. Like they just keep showing up. They just keep coming every day trying to make content, and it's not about being perfect, it's about it being done, is one of my favorite quotes.
I love that you were able to also be vulnerable and transparent about some of your experiences, because that's super important. And like you said, like consistency and showing up regardless of the outcome and how people necessarily respond to it is great, and great advice as well.
Yeah, Annabelle, similarly, on the music side, have you experienced any kind of like weird stuff like that? It's funny that you brought up the Gale thing. My friend was the one, I have a friend that dropped that comment to Gale, and it was rough, you know, like we were texting about it and it was like, geez, I didn't know that all this was going to happen, you know, and people were going to publish YouTube videos about me and all that different stuff. Like it's wild what, you know, is connected there. Have you experienced any of this?
I experience so much crap on the daily as a woman voicing my opinions about music. If I like, it's under like most of my videos, if not all of them. It's definitely strange. I think like when you do go viral and you start you know, getting all of these views and getting all these opportunities, the imposter syndrome is really real. You're like, did this happen on accident? Like, should I be the one in this position? Like, you know, and definitely getting a lot of like hate comments or comments telling me that like I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I got like some music fact wrong, definitely has driven me crazy at some points, you know, making me doubt like if I even know what I'm talking about. Like if I'm like just like some girl that got on TikTok started talking about music, but you know, like it makes me forget like all of the work that I've put in and all of like my lifetime of having a passion for music that's led me to this point. So I think, you know, when you're going viral and when people are hating on you and tearing you down, you just have to remember that they're coming from a place of insecurity. They don't know you or who you are, and they're mad that like you're doing well and they're not. And, you know, that's just like, that's the fact of the matter. And it's just important to keep that in mind. I think like self-care around social media is so important. Like spending time with friends and family who know you for who you are can be really grounding. Just focusing on the positives and like all of the people that support you and love you is so amazing. Like I have had so many like incredible young women come up to me when I'm out and about, or like sending me DMs, just telling me that like they felt inspired that they could chase their dreams of working in music because of me. And so I think that anyone who's successful is going to have people that hate on them. It is completely inevitable. But you know, what I always tell people, like my other friends who are dealing with similar issues, or I tell to myself, is like, if they're mad, they're engaged. Like if they're hating, they're engaged. And so like, you know, they're paying attention to you whether they like it or not.
Oh, that's so great. Oh man. We're that was Coral, you ended this webinar in such an amazing way with that question. Feel like Coco and Annabelle had so many great comments. And Coco, your Coco-isms, I'm gonna make like a series on social media. All these little, well, Mark Cuban said this and so said
Yeah.
that. Like, man, I love these little Coco-isms. uh I want to, just because I want to be sensitive of time, Coco, Annabelle, you guys are probably insanely busy, and I want to make sure that we can capitalize on your time, but also be sensitive of it. We do have a couple of questions I just wanted to get to, so sorry about the hard pivot, but just being sensitive of your time, want to get to a few of them. One great one just came in from Ben Kirschman from Warner. Thanks, Baco. Let's see here. Ben asked, have either of you found effective methods of mobilizing your audience from TikTok to other platforms? I bet Steph's ears are ringing over there, Steph.
Yeah, I like to use this method called like, I mean, and it is, but make them think it's their idea. So instead of being like, guys, please go stream my song, like I beg you, like I'm so desperate for streams, just be like, if you want to, oh, I'm talking about how I made this song. By the way, if you wanted to stream it, like make it like you're doing them a favor. If you wanted to stream it, like I got it up on Spotify and Apple Music, you can go find it there. Anyways, like let it be their idea. You just plant the seed, and then they're the one who's going to water it. You don't have to like force the plant at them. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Definitely the same. Like if you make it seem forced, then people are not going to do it. So like a very nonchalant call to action is always great. Or like I'll make a video talking about like an Instagram post that I have, or like I do a lot of shows, I host a lot of events. So that's really easy for me to be like, oh, I'm hosting an event. If you want to see more details about it, like it's on my Instagram. So stuff like that, just give people a reason to, you know, click over to another platform. It's really just as simple as that. Like just, and it kind of goes along with like marketing music on TikTok, getting people to buy a product off of TikTok or anything. It's like, if you're more like nonchalant, reverse psychology about it, people are going to be more likely to do it.
Totally. Great question. And I think we might have time for one more. Let me see here. I think there was one more that I missed. All right. With viral, I'm going to go to, where did it go? There it is. Serena asked, with viral success, there always comes with hate. Oh, we kind of covered this one, Serena, a little bit. How do you both deal with having such a large following? Kind of handled that. Coral asked, how do you stay motivated to create content daily, weekly? We kind of covered that. Yes, Serena, they did answer that. Any last questions, guys? I think we covered any audience questions through some different conversations. All
I have a
right.
question.
All right, we'll end with Coral here. Coral has one more, and we'll end it there and let Coco and Annabelle go do their thing.
I just want to ask, like, for 2023, what are you guys most excited to like put out into the world, to see, to kind of hop on? A little bit of like a futuristic prediction on like what you hope this year brings, where you see it going for yourselves and social media as a whole. Answer however you want.
For me, I'm excited to take the foundation I've built with TikTok the last couple of years. I'm finally starting to see like major success outside of TikTok, which I think has been what my goal has been for a long time. It's like my goal myself has never been to like be a forever TikTok creator. It has been to take the moment that I can create with TikTok, take that community and put it into real life things. So being able to like build a successful company because of the virality that I had on TikTok, to be able to be, you know, hosting concerts with my favorite artists, you know, all of that stuff. It's all attributed to like the success I had on TikTok early on. So this year I'm just excited to like, you know, do more stuff in the real world outside of TikTok. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think mine would probably be the same, is getting to meet people in person, like getting to go speak at events and stuff. That's usually where I'll meet the most of my followers too, that will come up to me and find me at these events. And that's always like a reminder of why I do it. And also just getting to work on different campaigns behind the scenes. I think I'm excited about like different artists and stuff. And I always say I'm like, the best marketing campaigns are like getting other people to do the marketing for you. Like I hate, you know, people that advise artists to do like the Savage dance like 2 years later to their song a million times. I'm like, I think for me, yeah, it's just coming up with like real world ideas, like guerrilla marketing, getting other people to want to post about their music, and the artists might not even have to post once. And, so hopefully maybe you'll see some guerrilla marketing campaigns and some Coco isms hidden in those.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to end on that note. This has been fantastic. Annabelle, Coco, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your time. Baco, put your handles in the chat so that any audience members can follow you, hit you up directly. And yeah, everyone, please stay tuned to our social media, our newsletters, stay up to date. We typically have these webinars every couple of months and invite some of our favorite creators or professionals or marketers in the space. And anyway, it's 1:58 Central Time here in Nashville. So later, everyone.